The Hillbilly Beast. While the Yeti huddles in the chilly corners of the Himalayas and Nessie dodges sonar beams and motor blades in Loch Ness, the pride of the South, the Hillbilly Beast, roams the swamps of Kentucky unchecked. Between 8 and 10 feet tall, 800 pounds, and covered in a carpet of foot-long swamp-damped hair, the Hillbilly Beast is a relatively straightforward match in the lineup of the average Sasquatch, yet the particular tenor of this brand is uniquely southern. With an apparent affinity for stealing hogs, cats, and scouring vegetable patches, the Hillbilly Beast leaves no stone unturned. Some have escaped falling under the yellow-eyed leer of the beast, and have only heard its trademark yowl echoing throughout the swamp, while others claim that the beast is silent, only expressing territorial threats by hurtling large stones into paths, or through reverberating warnings made by beating tree trunks with dead sticks. A small group swears that the beast communicates telepathically, though, as often the cases are, unreliable to record such communication. Though many of today's stories tend to bear the mark of modernity, overturned vehicles, and terrified television crews, one should not assume that the advent of the Hillbilly Beast's popularity is recent. Tales of the beast can be traced back long before settlement as we know it arrived. The Cherokee people still share the stories passed down from their ancestors, legends that describe a mythical man-like creature stalking the woods, imbued with supernatural powers. Later settlers used the mysterious hill critters as scapegoats for disappearing livestock, and as threats to intimidate particularly unruly children. Even Daniel Boone, noted fearless explorer and hyperbolic historian, was said to have recounted a run-in with the hair-covered, bipedal giant that chased him through the hills of Kentucky. Today, despite the increased sightings and the technology of the modern world, the beast remains unseen. Though some have claimed to have found remains ranging from oversized incisors to full-fledged skeletons, an intact and inanimate example of the beast has yet to surface beyond split-second nocturnal encounters with the less fortunate explorers of Kentucky's hills. Between the beast's elusive nature, camera shyness, and refusal to pose, clear photographs and video recordings have also proven difficult to find. Despite these setbacks, however, the beast has continued to develop an ever-increasing body of lore that challenges any would-be monster from either side of the Mason-Dixon line, ensuring that as long as Kentucky has hills, there will always be legends of the Hillbilly Beast. The Cody Road Bridge. The Cody Road Bridge in northern Kentucky is a railroad bridge that runs over Cody Road, right at the point where the creek runs underneath the road. So you have the bridge running above you, and the road dips somewhat below it. With the creek and the low road, this area is prone to flooding when the creek rises. Flooding here is such a common occurrence. Swinging gates have been permanently placed on either side of the creek, marked with stop signs, to be closed whenever the water starts to rise. The legends of this area revolve around a woman that was killed in one of the following fashions, depending on who you ask. 1. She's either said to have committed suicide by jumping in front of an oncoming train, on the bridge, or by jumping from the bridge. 2. Running for help from her burning home that was near the bridge, but getting hit by the train in the process. 3. By getting caught in the current when the road quickly flooded below the bridge, either while in her car or while walking. Reports from this area are often of a woman in white, walking along the bridge, sometimes crying, others say yelling for help. Orbs, phantom trains, and disembodied voices are also reported here. Some locals refer to the phantom as Pigface, supposedly referring to her injuries after going head-to-head with the train. Pope Lick Monster. The Pope Lick Monster is a legendary part man, part goat, or sometimes part sheep creature, reported to live beneath the Norfolk Southern Railroad trestle over Floyd Fork Creek, in the Fisherville area near Louisville, Kentucky. In most accounts, the Pope Lick Monster, named after the Pope Lick Creek below the Pope Lick train trestle, appears as a human-goat hybrid with grotesquely deformed body of a man. It has powerful, fur-covered goat legs, an alabaster-skinned face, and a nose with wide-set eyes. Short, sharp horns protrude from the forehead, nestled in a long, greasy hair that matches the color of the fur on the legs. Numerous urban legends exist about this creature's origin and the methods it employs to claim its victims. According to some accounts, the creature uses its hypnosis or its voice mimicking to lure trespassers to the trestle to meet their death before an oncoming train. Other stories claim that the monster jumps down from the trestle onto the roofs of passing cars beneath it. Other legends tell that it attacks its victims with a blood-stained axe. It has also been said that the very sight of the creature is so unsettling that those who see it while walking across the high trestle are driven to leap off. Other legends explain the creature's origin, including that it is a human-goat hybrid, and it was in a circus and vowed revenge after being mistreated. In one version, the creature escapes after the train derails off of the trestle, which actually links the Pope Lick Monster to the legend of the ghost train, which is also sighted along the trestle. Another version claims that the monster is really a twisted reincarnated form of a farmer who sacrificed goats in exchange for satanic powers. And a few years ago, someone even died on the train track whilst trying to find the Pope Lick Monster, having been hit by an oncoming train. Pilot's Knob. This urban legend can be found in several locations on the web, including Shadowlands and Louisville Ghost Hunter's site. It's an urban legend, but could part of it be true? Pilot's Knob is located in Marion, Kentucky, and it looks like local citizens do not recommend going to this area. It all began in the late 1900s, when a woman and her 5 or 6-year-old daughter were charged with being witches. There were no legal hearings, as the townspeople thought it would take too long. So instead of being given a fair trial, they were burned to death at the stake. They burned a little girl alive. Her name was Mary Evelyn Ford. No one knows where the remains of her mother were placed, but Mary's final resting spot is why no one goes to Pilot's Knob at night. The frightened townsfolk were afraid that the little child would come back and haunt them, and likely cast spells on them. So she was buried in a cemetery at Pilot's Knob in an unusual way. She was buried in a grave lined with steel. The casket was covered with concrete and gravel. Around the grave, which you could still see today, they placed a white metal fence with interconnecting crosses. During the daytime, all is well, but at night, Mary Evelyn is believed to rise from the grave and walk. Some have reported seeing small footsteps on and around her gravesite. But she can't climb through the crosses. If you happen to be standing too close, she can reach out and grab the unsuspecting individual and pull you into her grave, supposedly giving her more strength. She is reported to make faces at people to lure them closer so she can grab them. Legend says that there is also a watcher on the other side of her grave. It's thought to be some sort of an evil presence who keeps trying to get the little girl, but he can't cross over the crosses either. Investigators were determined to view this cemetery and the grave, but they had made a mistake being there that night. They report that they did not see any ghost, but some of the iron bars of the fence were bent. Strong steel. A big old tree overlooks the cemetery, and it looks burnt. Likely from lightning, of course, but the trunk of the tree is rather spooky in itself. The investigators never saw one unusual thing, but there was something in the woods they could hear. Clomping footsteps and a feeling that someone was watching. Suddenly, the night air turned cold. Deciding to leave immediately, the temperature became very warm as they neared the car. Who is this? The Watcher? Some say it's the man who was murdered at the swinging bridge. Other strange things include tree branches around the cemetery that look like crosses right side up, sideways or upside down. When the little girl appears, she looks around 5 or 6 years old. She's wearing a white dress, which is scorched at the bottom. She has long blonde hair. People are warned not to lay down on her grave because she is strong enough to pull you down. Bobby Mackey's. We can't talk about the legends of Kentucky without mentioning Bobby Mackey's music world. Every good ghost story comes with its own origin, and Bobby Mackey's music world is no different. In 1850, the land that now belongs to the Mackeys was home to a huge slaughterhouse that supplied most of the northwest of Kentucky and Cincinnati with beef. Back in those days, things weren't really on the up and up, so instead of disposing of the blood, guts, bones, and cartilage properly, they dumped them into the well that was in the basement. In the 1890s, the slaughterhouse closed for unknown reasons, and that's when they say a local satanic cult moved in. The next part of the legend is a little less speculation and a lot more tragic. In 1896, 22-year-old Pearl Bryan's body was found decapitated in a field on the property. Pearl had been pregnant at the time of her death. Her boyfriend, a dentistry student named Scott Jackson, and his fellow classmate, Alonzo Walling, had attempted to conduct an abortion on their own. For obvious reasons, the procedure went very wrong and Pearl died. They removed her heads with hopes of throwing the police off of the chase. Both men were killed for their crime, and Alonzo vowed to haunt the land indefinitely before he died. For years, the building sat abandoned until the 1920s, when it became the home to a speakeasy called the Primrose. The secret bar and casino became so popular, Cincinnati mobsters started sniffing around. And when the owner, Buck Brady, refused to sell the building, the staff saw their fair share of threats, fights, and attempted murders. By the 50s, the building had yet again become another bar called the Latin Quarter. A dance hall girl working at the bar named Joanna fell in love and became pregnant with the child of a singer named Robert Randall. When her father discovered what had happened, he had Randall killed. And so Joanna poisoned him and took her own life beside the well that had once been the repository of so much blood. By 1978, the building had been witness to every form of death imaginable on a constant basis. So when Bobby Mackey bought the building and turned it into a music hall, it was no surprise that strange things started to happen. There's been sightings of full-bodied apparitions, including the headless ghost of Pearl Bryan. It is impossible not to experience touches, movement of furniture, banging, screaming, jukeboxes that turn on and off by themselves, and an uncomfortable number of paranormal events. Much of the activity occurs around the well or the portal, which many believe is a portal to hell. Often people will hear the sound of deep growling coming from the depths of that well. Most people, even the ones that work there, refuse to be in the area of the well because it has such a strange effect on people. You'd think this would be enough to have closed this business down, but it hasn't. And it's still open as a nightclub. And if you prefer to get spooked instead of going to dance, Bobby Mackey's offers nightly tours of the most haunted hot spots in the building, including the gateway to hell. Ghouls, I hope you enjoyed this video. I really liked researching this, and I was super excited because I got to cover Bobby Mackey's, and that place fascinates me. Ever since I saw the episode of Ghost Adventures where they throw that brick, I'm 90% sure that's in Bobby Mackey's. And if not, I apologize, but a lot of shit goes down when the Ghost Adventures crew goes there. So, yeah. You know what? For the question of the day, I want you ghouls to leave a pun down below. A pun about anything, just make sure it's punny. I'm in the mood for puns. Just put some puns down there. But as always, ghouls, the last video will be on the top left. The next video will be on the bottom left. All my social medias are on the screen, as well as in the description box below. And remember, there's always someone or something watching you.